Welcome to Sport Bike Girls, the podcast for women who are obsessed with sport bikes and all things motorcycle. Come join the ride. Hey Sport Bike Girls, welcome to episode 11. It has been 6 months since I recorded my first episode. I am thrilled that so many of you have become regular listeners, and I welcome everyone who's here for the first time. I really enjoy your suggestions for topics and guests, and I appreciate your feedback as well. More than anything, I want to help inspire any woman who's considering learning to ride, as well as introduce all you seasoned riders to a wide range of women across the globe who love motorcycling in all forms. There is just so much to learn and share with each other. Today, I am focusing on a woman who is an auto mechanic, otherwise known as a wrench. Her name is Andrea of Andrea's Auto. It is the only female-owned auto repair shop on Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard has a relatively small year-round population, but it explodes in the summer when it becomes one of the most popular summertime destinations on the East Coast. Andrea is part of a growing trend of women who have found a career in a traditionally male-dominated trade, be it auto mechanic, electrician, welder, to name but a few. Her hard work, grit, and sheer determination have led her down an incredible career path that now coincides with her love of motorcycles. She is also passionate about educating and empowering women on basic auto maintenance, as well as mentoring a new generation of female wrenches. I know you are going to enjoy her story while also learning an incredible amount from her super advice on how to care for your motorcycle, ensuring its safety and top performance. Stay tuned. Hey, Sport Bike Girls, how are you today? Thank you so much for being here. I am thrilled to introduce you to my next guest. This is Andrea from Andrea's Auto of Martha's Vineyard. She is part of a wave of women who not only want to ride motorcycles, but learn how to fix them as well as their cars. So thank you so much for being here, Andrea. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here. It's nice to finally talk to you and meet you instead of the back and forth that we all do in our busy lives because we're trying to do 2 or 3 things at a time.
For sure. We've been trying and talk and make this happen for a while. So happy that we're making it happen. Thank you so much for your time. She owns her own business. She's a very busy lady. You've got college age kids, I believe, right?
I have a daughter in college. She's just got home for the summer. And then I have a son who is finishing up sophomore year in high school.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. So we have kids about the same age. So we're really like in the same place. I get it. Let's start with my first question that I ask all my guests. What's your current ride?
So I have several.
Excellent. Love that answer. Okay.
So because I live on an island and it's tiny here, I preferably ride I have a soft-tailed Deuce, but doesn't really like being in second and third gear. So that's sort of like what I use to escape the island.
Nice. Okay.
And then I have a couple of Honda Rebel 250s, which was my first bike. And that those are great for the island because the speed limit doesn't go over 45 here. So it's great just to buzz around the island. They're perfect for here. And then I have a Yamaha TTR dirt bike as well. So try to cover all the bases.
That's amazing. For any of my listeners who don't know, Martha's Vineyard is in Massachusetts. It's an island that is off of Cape Cod, which is that cool little curl extending out of Massachusetts. If anyone's heard of Hyannisport, Provincetown, that's where Cape Cod is. But you are in Edgartown, Martha's Vineyard.
I am. And if anybody has seen the movie Jaws, that is where I live.
Aha. Did not know that was Edgartown. Oh,
Amityville is Edgartown.
Wow. Okay. Amityville horror, but that's a totally different kind of horror.
Oh, there's plenty in Edgartown.
Wow. Okay. Let's start with auto mechanic. How long have you been an auto mechanic?
I have been wrenching for about 15 years, I think, in in the shop that I'm at. And then I was sort of off and on learning to wrench for a couple of years here and there before I started working in the shop.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned to me when we talked on the phone that you were in the Navy, and that was actually your first exposure to mechanics or anything of that nature. How did that all come about?
Well, let's see. So I went into the Navy, and at the time they assigned me, they give you your top 3 professions that you would love to have and the top 3 places that you would love to be stationed, all of which I am pretty sure never even get looked at. So my dreams of being a pilot or working with a flight crew somewhere like in Hawaii, that did not happen. And they were like, we need engineers and we're sending you to Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh.
So that is, and I was really questioning the decision because I had no ideas about engineering, and it seemed like it was something that was way over my head. And they said, no, we're going to send you to school, so you'll get it. And I went to a 6-month school in Newport, which is really not enough time to understand engineering at all. But the great thing about it is that the systems, they have buildings there that you can trace systems, and it's pretty much the same concepts as in a car. So they would often say, do you know how in your car this does this? And I would be clueless in the back row, like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And the great thing about that school was that you can actually walk these systems. So you can see, like, here's where the gas starts, and then we're going to walk through this whole building and follow this one line that carries the fuel from point A to point B.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So really great to be able to see those kinds of things and get my first introduction with all these systems on a large scale like that. So that was very helpful when I got to my ship after that. And I spent a lot of hours just sort of doing that, walking these systems, going from decks up high and winding around passageways and just sort of following the systems to try to familiarize myself with it.
What an experience. Oh my goodness. Wow.
Quite an experience.
Yeah. How long what was the longest you were ever out at sea?
6 months.
Okay.
So we did a lot of workups up and down the East Coast. I was over in the Mediterranean. Yeah, just a lot of little trips in and out. My ship actually spent a fair amount of time in the shipyard. And then all of the engine equipment was sort of getting ripped apart. And then we had to put it all back together and test all the systems and make sure everything was operating before we started getting ready for the next deployment.
Okay. So you literally learned how to become a mechanic on a Navy ship.
Yes. And mostly, so I would say that the better part of me learning car stuff took place in my senior chief's one-car garage when we were on shore.
Okay.
Because I wanted to learn how to do that. And my car, I had been ripped off at all of the local shops nearby, and I had said, like, what's going on with my car that it's making this atrocious noise, like there's a jet plane taking off? And he said, you probably need some brake pads. So he said, why don't you bring me a bottle of Crown Royal and I'll teach you how to do some brake pads. Deal.
Wow. That's probably one of the biggest fears of most women when they're just dealing with your everyday cars, is trying to go to a mechanic and explain to them, I know there's something wrong, but you have no idea what it is. Or, majority of women wouldn't know what it is, or even men for that fact. And you just feel like you're constantly being taken advantage of because you can't have an intelligent conversation with them, because you kind of have to believe whatever they say, because you don't know, you don't have the information and the facts to contradict them or agree with them, or that's immensely frustrating. So
why I teach the classes that I teach, so that at least there is a basic knowledge, and I sort of go through the car and we talk about noises and sounds, and I try to break it down so that it is explainable and it is something that the girls that I teach can sort of take away and say, oh, I remember her talking about this squeak, and this is how I can describe it when I go in and talk about it. Because really, the more information you tell the mechanic, the better. Anything that, even if you think it's not related. So my radio stopped working, and sometimes my left turn signal does this funny thing, and all of it can all be related because it might all be wired in the same circuit, and you never would have thought it. But I have definitely come across problems like that where somebody didn't think anything had to do with the other, but gave me all of the information. Like, here's all the things that are wrong. So
kind of like go to the doctor, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This hurts and that hurts and then that happened and oh, okay.
Yes, I charge extra for counseling.
As you should. That is so great. So you leave the Navy. Any thoughts in your mind of doing this on your own or as a profession going forward?
Not at all. The only thing that I knew when I left the Navy, I knew two things. One, that I didn't want to have anything to do with the military ever again. Okay. And B, that I didn't want to be in charge. So I went to a military college and then graduated as a commissioned officer. So immediately I had 2 divisions because short-staffed. So I had 95 people that I was in charge of, and it was a lot to keep track of. And I just said, I don't want to do anything like this. I don't want to be in charge of anything for a while. And that is not how it went. I was like, I want to go work on a farm and pick vegetables in the sun. And they were like, well, we need a manager. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to be a field hand. I just want to work hard in the field. And they said, well, we're not going to hire you unless you become the manager. Oh. So then I was in charge of 75 people.
Oh my gosh. Did you come back to Massachusetts where you were originally from?
I did. I had a difficult time in the Navy. At the time that I was on a ship. So I was on an LHD, which is just slightly smaller than an aircraft carrier. And it's a flat top ship. And there were total of 14 women on that ship and deployed thousands of people. So the ratio was intense. And as you can imagine, that was just not a great time for women in the military still. So it was really hard. And I needed just to kind of reground. And so I knew I needed to come home just for a little bit, I really intended to just come home for a summer and work. And then I was going to move to New York City and I was going to pursue my dreams of being on Broadway. That was my plan, but that is not how it worked out.
Okay. Obviously your story was meant for something bigger and better. So
yes,
let's talk about motorcycles. Wow. And then we're gonna get into your own shop and what you're doing there and all those amazing things. Who introduced you to motorcycles? Why did you want to start riding?
So my partner, I don't know, maybe like a few years into our relationship, started working with a different crew, and his boss rode Dyna, and he was really, trying to get him. We all went fishing together all the time. And then he was like, dude, you got to get a motorcycle so that we can like ride together also. Okay. And so, and my partner at the time, I was like, all right, so you should probably get glasses, because when we're in the movies and you're squinting and you can't see anything, I was like, you should probably go to the eye doctor, because it's been probably 15 years and that should be something that you consider. And I was like, and you need health insurance just in case. I was like, those are the bottom lines.
Solid advice. Solid. Yeah.
So while he was taking care of those things, a motorcycle happened to fall into my lap, essentially. And someone was leaving the island and said, I'm not sure if you're interested, but I'm moving onto a school bus and leaving. And I have this Honda Rebel here, and I would sell it to you for really cheap if you want. Plus this whole record collection. And here's my other beach bike. And I was like, okay, great, I'll take it. And so I came home with a motorcycle, and he was like, what the heck? Like, this was my idea. How did you get a motorcycle before I did? I said, well, I have eyeglasses and health insurance. And I got a motorcycle first.
That's amazing. I love it. That happened.
That happened. I did not know how to ride it, so it sat in the driveway for a little bit, and then he found a motorcycle, and then we took the training wheels class off island and spent a weekend learning how to ride, and that was that. And then it took over.
That is
all
so
those other things we used to do started to go to the wayside.
Right. Then that became life. Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so fun. So, and he eventually got his own bike, and you were riding together and all that. That's fantastic. That is so great. So the Honda, is that one of the Honda Rebels you still have, your original bike?
I still have it. Yep.
You still have it. That is
and then because I love that bike, and generally I was working on it fairly often at the shop, clients would come in and say, oh, do you like Honda Rebels? And I was like, well, yeah, they're great. They're the perfect island bike, and they're really easy to work on, and they start every time because it's a Honda.
Yeah,
and
I've owned some Hondas. They're amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
And then, I've had several people come in and say, well, I just have one that's just been sitting in my barn. Do you want it? And I cannot say no.
Of course not.
I love them.
Oh my God.
It just happens.
You have so you're not just an owner, you're a collector, basically.
Well, I figure, I can keep this one, my original, the way that it was. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll make this one into a cafe racer, and then I'll make this one into a bobber, and then I just have all these different Rebels.
Oh my gosh, that's each with its own little role and personality. That is so fun. So there was no motivation or thought about riding motorcycles before that incident, before someone approached you and said, hey, want to buy this?
Nope. I had been on the back of somebody's bike a couple of times, but it was not something that was in the forefront of my mind. And then it just took over. As soon as I started learning how to ride, it was like, oh, this is what I've been missing my whole life. Okay, great.
I found you.
Yes. I found you, my beautiful bike. I found my people everywhere, and it's wonderful. And just the community of riding is so spectacular, and it's so welcoming. And I used to travel and, just have like the worst luck. But ever since I've been riding, and I've just, if I'm on a solo trip, I come across the most wonderful people just checking in on me and making sure the trip is going okay, and offering to buy you coffee when you get off the bike on a long trip. And it's just it's so great to be a part of this community.
I love that is such a common thread of virtually every woman that I talk to. It's what the motivation or what keeps them so engaged and so hooked is the community. And that's so heartwarming. I actually was having an interaction with a woman on Facebook the other day. I'm here in Connecticut, right next to Massachusetts. And she was looking for women to ride with. And I recommended to her the Central Connecticut chapter of the Litas. It was a little bit far for her. But she said, yeah, if I really can't find anyone, I'm just going to sell my bike. And I was like, no. I'm going to find someone for you to ride with. Do not sell your bike. Here's this woman who invested all this time and energy to get her license, to learn to ride. And she's not finding women in her area that she can share it with. And she's thinking of giving it up. And it just made me so sad. I was like, I'm going to find you somebody. I promise. Don't sell it.
There's another great group of girls in Connecticut called Women in the Wind.
Oh, they have a Connecticut chapter too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't aware. Okay, I'm going to look into that. Thank you. For myself and for her.
Yeah, they're great. And the Central Connecticut Litas, I love those girls.
They're going to be guests soon. I'm going to devote a whole episode to the Litas. So really excited about that. And I think that you ride with the Litas there on Martha's
I started a Litas chapter on Martha's Vineyard. Yeah.
Oh, you were one of the founders of that chapter?
Yep.
Oh, you go, girl. My God, that's amazing. Oh, so you know Kelly and Jocelyn. Okay. That's fantastic. Oh, how fantastic. Give us since we're talking about the leaders, give us your perspective on the leaders and what you know about the group and how it's just changed things for women riders. Give your little take on the leaders, how it's affected you.
It just kind of changed my whole world, really. I saw some, I think on Instagram, maybe I had seen some posts from Litas, and then I found the Rhode Island Litas, and they were announcing their season opener a few years ago. And so a friend of mine from here, I said, well, it's in Fall River. It's not that far. Do you want to go check this out? They're having a gear swap. We can meet some other women that ride. And that way, if we go off the island, we can make some connections. And I went and, I was like really shy, and all these women that I had never met before. And, we kind of sat down and did our introductions and gear swap. And then, we were talking about who, rides that we would volunteer to lead. And I think it pretty much, it all started for me in that season opener with the Rhode Island Litas. And I said, yeah, I mean, I'd have never led a ride, but I'll lead a ride. I mean, if anybody wants to ever come over to Martha's Vineyard, I can show you guys around here. And it just was like, boom, I have this whole group of women that I made different connections and different threads. And there was a woman that was like, hey, I think you said you were interested in learning how to weld, and I have this extra ticket to a women's welding workshop if you want to come with me. And then I had another person say, are you going to ride up to Babes Ride Out? Do you want to ride together? I know you have that little 250, so we could take back roads. And I was like, that would be great, because I don't think I can get on the highway. I had never been on the highway. And I have never been so immediately welcomed by a group of women. And sometimes groups of women are intimidating.
I agree with that. Yes.
And it was not like that at all for me. It was just really open and welcoming. And I have made friendships, and I really never had solid groups. Like I had never had like a group of girlfriends. And I felt like I was like in my 40s and like finding my girlfriends finally, like just awesome. Really awesome.
So you went to the Babes Ride Out in New York, up in Narrowsburg. You rode from Martha's Vineyard all the way up there. How long did that take?
All day.
Okay. I was thinking like 2-3, like maybe you spread it out over 2-3 days or something.
I did. I left, I think I left one night, went a couple hours, and that was like my first stint on the highway ever. And it was terrifying.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That night, it was an experience. And then we stuck to back roads, and then just sort of took the whole day, the day before, to leisurely make our way up there, which was really great. And my bike was certainly the slowest, and 2 other girls rode with me, and they sort of like tucked me in and sandwiched me, and it was really amazing.
Just protected you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that so much.
But I did go to Ecuador and we were on dirt bikes, luckily, and did 10 days of riding through the Andes Mountains.
Oh my God.
It was absolutely incredible.
Wow.
I liked it. I mean, for my birthday, why not?
Oh my God.
It was probably like my last 5 birthdays to myself, and let's throw a Mother's Day in there too, and all of the things combined. And I've never done anything like that before, so it was a pretty big trip for me. And it was just kind of last minute. It just came together, and it was epic. It was quite an adventure, not quite a vacation. I wouldn't.
No, it doesn't sound relaxing. It sounds fun as hell, but not really relaxing.
It was honestly the most challenging riding I have ever done. The conditions, the mental fortitude that it took to get through some of those days. It was unprecedented rain season. So The roads were just washed out and just non-existent in a lot of places, which was great to be on a dirt bike because otherwise that was not happening.
Of course.
Because we were in the mountains at such high altitude, it was also freezing rain. So it wasn't super warm. There were a couple of days where it was beautiful and sunny, but I still had thermals on every day. So it was just the mental, and riding all day, every day was a lot, but it was an incredible experience, and I learned a lot. I
can't even imagine. Did you have to put those wrenching skills to use? Any like breakdowns or real serious mechanical issues?
No, incredibly, that did not happen. And we had a toolkit and spare tubes for tires, and it just, that luckily was not one of the bridges that we had to cross.
Terrific. Oh, that's good to hear. I was afraid the mechanical gods were going to be testing you. It's like,
luckily they didn't add that to like pushing the bike up a 40 landslide to get to the road on the other side, which sometimes wasn't there either. So luckily there were no mechanical failures on top of that.
That's great to hear. It was just adventure and fun, but grueling, but what a once in a lifetime experience. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about Andrea's auto. When did it start? What made you say, I'm doing this on my own? Did you apprentice with someone beforehand who owned their own shop?
So I got, after farming, I went to a different farm where I didn't have to be the manager, and I did work in the fields and started doing some light maintenance on the tractors. And then at the time I was a single mom, and farming was I was working 3 jobs, and I was farming during the day, waitressing at night, and then teaching my classes. So I started to try to think about ways that would be better for my family, because I was really burning myself out, and farming is really intense work. So, and the pay was not great, as farming, tends to be. Yeah. So I knew that I had to shift something, because I could no longer sustain that, being a single mom with kids getting older. So I started to feel like I wanted to dive into auto mechanics. And so I saw an ad in the paper for a mechanic, and I thought, okay, well, this is a good place to start. They need help. I'll go and say, hey, I know how to do some basic stuff, and I'm trainable, and I'm ready to work. And the guy looked me up and down and just laughed, this belly maniacal laugh. And he was like, I would never hire you in a million years, no matter how desperate I was. I was like, oh, well,
wow.
So that's how this is going to go.
Yeah. I can rebuild a Navy battleship, but okay, sure. Yeah. I can't work on your cars. Okay. Yeah. Got it. No problem.
So I went to a few other shops. I had one shop that was like, yeah, we can get you on the floor eventually, but right now what I really need is somebody to do like the inventory and the parts and the computer work. And I was like, no,
answer the phones. Yeah.
He's just going to stick me behind a desk and just promise me that I'll get on the floor, and that'll never happen. So strike 2. And then the next shop I went to, the owner actually rolled himself out on a creeper from underneath a school bus and said, listen, I'm sure this has been a tough journey for you, and I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're a woman, and it's not going to be an easy road, and I would hire you. I would absolutely hire you. He's like, but I have no need for a mechanic right now. I don't even have space to work inside. I got my guys inside, and I'm outside working on the ground, and I own the place.
Oh my God.
So he said, just keep trying, keep coming back to me. You never know. If you can't find anything, then just keep coming back, and maybe something will change over here. So that was nice, because it was a slight bit of encouragement. Right. And then I found one more shop where my mother had said, hey, I take my car here. This guy's really great. He's always really respectful to me. It probably wouldn't hurt to ask him. And so I did, and he said no. Oh. And he was like, no, I just don't need any help right now. And then my car broke down, and I asked him if he would fix it, and he said yes. And then I don't know, a year went by and my car broke down again. And so I brought it back. And then the third time my car broke down, it's all the same problem. Now this is the timing belt just kept going on my car, and I was a broke single mom. So I was like, well, I got to keep trying to fix it because I don't have other options. Sure. So the third time I said, hey, so I have a proposition for you. I was really hoping that if I buy these parts, could I do this job in the parking lot and use your tools? Because I just can't afford to do this job again. I don't have any money left. Oh. I was like, I bought the parts and I bought a manual. Can I do that? Would you be okay with that? And he said, yeah, sure. And I did. And I was diligently taking everything apart and labeling it and just diving right in because I had no choice. And he would kind of walk by and just kind of check in on me and make sure that I had the tools I needed. And the guys in the shop were, helpful with me and showing me where all the tools were. And it was pretty great. And then when I finished that job, he got in the car and he was like, well, let's go for a test drive. And we did. And I was like, I can't believe I did this. This is so amazing. Like, this was a big job. And he was like, it was a big job. He's like, I am really impressed. He's like, do you want a job?
Wow. What a fantastic strategy. I mean, I know it was out of quote unquote desperation, but wow, what an incredible strategy to literally have him watch you firsthand complete this task. That is just so impressive. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, it was a really good feeling. And then I started working there, and after, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years there, he started giving me more responsibility, and he was kind of like phasing out because he had owned the shop. He had built the shop and been doing it for close to 30 years. And he started to sort of teach me how to do the billing and the booking and pretty much all of it. And then eventually said, someday, do you think you might want to take this over? Oh. And I was like, yeah, yes, absolutely. Yes. And then somewhere in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, he was like, okay, so January? I was like, what? I have no, I was like, I just got married. I spent every dime I had, and now it's Christmas, and I don't know how I'm going to buy it from you. And then I came up with I was like, can I pay you monthly until, it's done? And he said, I don't know, come up with a plan. And I did. And he was like, yeah, let's make it work. And that was it. And I had 6 weeks to figure out what I needed to do there, how to start my own business from scratch, and the accounts that I needed to open and the permissions that I had to get granted. And
oh my goodness.
And that was 5 years ago. So
and you're going strong. Wow. Going strong. That's incredible. Wow. And you now just recently hired, how many employees do you have? I know you just recently hired a young girl to work with you. Yes. Yep.
She's excellent. I met her at yoga. I walked in and she was talking about how she had built a conversion van, and that's something that I am thinking about doing. And I was like, ooh, someday I'm going to pick your brain about that. And then she was like, what do you do here? And I said, I have an auto repair shop up the street. And she said, are you hiring? And I was like, oh, yes, absolutely. Are you interested? And she's like, well, right now I'm an electrician. I work on diesel boats, and I'm commuting back and forth to Rhode Island, and I'm really looking for a job here. So can I come by tomorrow and just check out what you do? I was like, yeah, yes. So, and she's been great. She is really incredible to have. And I have trained a few people, and it's been very challenging in the past, and this feels really good.
Oh, what a great thing. So in addition to this young lady that you just hired, do you have any other staff, any other people who work with you or that you're training currently?
I have a wonderful man named Doug who works for me. I do believe he turned 78 this year.
Oh, God bless.
He has been a mechanic longer than I have been alive. Oh. So he is a man full of knowledge. He's very colorful. he would not speak to me for the first 2 or 3 weeks that he worked with me for sure. But now he's like part of my family.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, he must keep work really fun. And what an incredible font of knowledge. I can't even imagine.
Oh yeah, he's pretty great.
That's awesome. Let's talk about some of the cool workshops that you've already hosted and that you have planned. You've done some special workshops for women to teach them basic auto repair and maintenance. What are some of the things that you covered?
I do. So in my general basic auto maintenance, I kind of go over basically just like a head to toe visuals of the car. So I get a group of girls and I have them start with their manuals, because a lot of people don't realize how much information is actually in there. Mm-hmm. And then I start just kind of simple stuff, the stickers on the car with the information on them, tire pressure, VIN number, engine size. Oh my. And then we just kind of locate the different systems, much like I was taught in the Navy. And that way I can identify the different systems, the starting and the charging system, or the fuel system, the belt driven pulleys. And then after we sort of get even just basic terminology, explaining how the hydraulics of the brake system works. I have lots of different pieces from old cars that I keep around for training. And then everybody can actually physically hold things in their hand and see how things work, and the gears inside transmissions and clutches and little pieces that wouldn't normally be something that you could have access to if they weren't removed from a different vehicle.
Got it.
And that way we can sort of identify different problems, noises, feelings that your car makes, vibrations, what to look for if your car won't start all of a sudden, and different things to check. And then different things that, 5 basic maintenance things that girls could do at home. Checking your air filters is huge. Looking at your battery terminals to make sure there's no corrosion, and just little simple things that can be done at home. And also just kind of really empowering them and making people feel more confident going to dealers or to mechanics, or even to go purchase your own parts from an auto parts store.
That's amazing. So not only are they learning to troubleshoot problems on their own, possibly remedy them themselves, but to give them the confidence when they do have to go to a mechanic, to not, hopefully be bamboozled by someone who thinks, oh, here's another stupid girl. Let's see how much I can upcharge today.
Right.
Yeah. Because of course, not every mechanic is unscrupulous, but when you're dealing with an uneducated consumer in any aspect, you're not in a position of power. You are not in a position of power. You're completely at their mercy to tell you anything and sell you anything.
And it is widely recognized that, especially in this industry, women are taken advantage of. And there were shops. I did I think NPR did a story on it a couple of years ago, and they went to various shops around the country and pointedly asked the shop owners and the mechanics, do you take advantage of women? And I think over 80% of them blatantly admitted, because it was anonymous, yes, we do.
Oh my!
We mark it up like crazy. So it's not just assumed that happens. It is known that happens. So I generally feel like the more we can educate people so that doesn't happen, the better. And it gives, to give women that vote of confidence for themselves is huge. And, just familiarizing themselves with tools, all of it. It's very empowering, and I am all for it.
Oh, what a great service you're doing. What other upcoming, obviously it's easier for women who are in the Martha's Vineyard area, but I'm sure you have women who would gladly come from that whole tri-state area, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, to get there and spend a day with you to learn these things. Do you have any upcoming that you have planned that we can help talk about, or is still in the works?
Because it is shifting into riding season, my workshop season tends to be in the off season. Although several rides, I'm going to say actually most rides that I attend or group rides, there is usually an opportunity for a lesson. There are often things falling off bikes or cars, and we kind of, stop over and have a rest stop, quick lesson. I always have my tools with me. So that happens from time to time. I don't have any workshops planned currently, although I have been trying to work one-on-one with people.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
It's hard because it's getting to be really busy here for the season, with the influx of tourism. It's gearing up to be a really busy season here, but I'm really trying to be open with women that want to learn how to do something on their own car, and they, say, can I come and do this with you? So I've been more open to doing sort of one-on-one projects. I helped a friend do the brakes on her truck. She now has a starter issue, so we're going to tackle that. And then another friend wants to pull the carburetor off her motorcycle, and so we're going to have a little impromptu carburetor workshop. So I try to do as much of that as I can when I can. There is a really great opportunity for all women right now to do. There is a shop in Arizona called the Girl Gang Garage, and they have an all-female build. So I highly recommend anybody that's interested. You don't have to have any experience at all. And you can go on their website, and they're doing a project. It's called the Iron Maven, and they welcome people to come out and help build this car. And Bogey is there, and she's really great. She does one-on-one instruction. And so probably about 30% of the women that go and work on this build don't have any experience with tools or working in a shop, but just really want to learn. And she is phenomenal with one-on-one guidance, and it's really an amazing opportunity.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Russ. I'm going to look into it. I will post that on my Insta and share that with everybody. Thank you. That sounds like a spectacular opportunity.
Really great.
For women who ride motorcycles, can you just give them like maybe the top 2-3 things that they absolutely have to know, or you really highly recommend that they learn basic maintenance for their motorcycles? Is it changing a tire? Is it learning how to, check the oil? Like, what should really, not only just women in particular, but what should every motorcycle rider know in the most basic aspect to keep their bike safe and running?
I would say that the importance of tire condition is huge. It can go very wrong very quickly if you don't have enough pressure in your tires. So that's one of those things that is the size of a pen. You can keep a tire gauge with you and just always check. There's a sticker on your bike that says what your tires want to be at. Because as soon as that pressure is off, it changes the whole ride of the bike. The wheel balancing, if you have spoked wheels, some of the spokes can come loose, and that can really change your ride. It can put you into a wobble. So tires, pay very close attention to how many miles you're putting on a set of tires, because that can sneak up on you if you do a lot of road time. And tires is very key to have good tires on your bike. And oil, get comfortable with checking your oil. I generally recommend for any rider to have the repair manual, not the owner's manual, but go eBay is really great, bike manuals, because then anything that goes wrong, it's in there, and it will tell you exactly how to check it, what to check, for maintenance, timetables. It tells you, for instance, when you're checking your oil, does your bike want to be level or on its kickstand? Very important.
Wow. Never would have thought of that.
So just lots of details, because fluids is also huge. Oil is huge. Your bike is fine mechanics. It's got a lot of gears, and the oil wants to be clean and it wants to be level, and you don't want to have too much and you don't want to have too little. So checking your fluids is huge as well.
That is super, super insight. Thank you so much. My last question, for the women who would like to follow in your footsteps, who would love to be wrenches themselves, cars, motorcycles, Navy ships, whatever.
You can do it all, ladies. You can do it.
Outside of joining the military, what path do you suggest? Technical school, trade school, apprenticeship, all of the above?
I would say really whatever is feasible for you. Sometimes technical school doesn't work. I really wanted to be able to go to school, but as a single mom, it wasn't feasible for me to do that. So persistence is key. Sometimes they're not ready for us out in this workforce, but if you persistently show them that you want it bad enough and are willing to work for it, you can make it happen. You can manifest it. I mean, my 78-year-old employee was really not keen to work with any woman. And as soon as he saw that I was a hard-working woman, he was like, all right, okay,
I'm on board with this.
Yeah. So anything that's available for your fingertips, if you see local classes that are offered, jump in when you can. Anything that you have available, especially if you want to learn. There's a lot of great opportunities out there. Eventually, I will be hopefully traveling in my conversion van of sorts that I will build.
I know you will.
Teaching these classes in a mobile sense at some point. So
that's a spectacular future goal. I know that you're going to make that happen. Your persistence is so inspiring, so mind-blowing. I mean, you have really knocked down some major doors. You may not see that, but you absolutely have. And what great advice you've shared with us tonight. I cannot thank you enough for your time and for you sharing your story. And I just wish you all the best. And I hope we can meet someday in the future. I really do. I would gladly drive from Connecticut to Massachusetts to learn how to change my oil or something.
Or maybe I'll come to you and we can get all the Connecticut ladies together and we'll just have a class there.
Please. I will absolutely
find me a space that I can teach in, and I have a shirt that says "Have wrenches will travel." So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Challenge accepted.
Great.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I know you're going to learn so much from this great episode, and I'm going to post all these links that we talked about. Please follow Andrea on Instagram. Are you on Twitter as well?
No, I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm not sure
Twitter sucks. Don't bother.
I'd have to get a couple lessons on
Don't
how
bother.
to do that, so.
Just thought I'd ask. Andrea, thank you. Have a super night. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was great meeting you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
That's all for today. Thank you so much for being here. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SportBikeGirls for a complete schedule of all upcoming episodes, as well as more information about all of my amazing guests. Have a great day.